Okay, so I think I'm before a break, and like Chandler yesterday, I was like, everybody's probably got to pee. So hold it, because this is going to be good. Okay. Um, so anyway, I love building brands, and I've only done it for 25 years. Now, I like to say that I'm not a spring chicken, I'm a seasoned chicken. So there's a lot of spice and seasoning that goes into building a brand. And a lot of you, how many of you are totally impressed with not just Gio's event itself for all of us, but the speakers that you've heard today? Yeah. Yes? Yeah? How many of you want to be on this stage too? Yeah? How many of you are afraid to be on this stage but want to be on this stage in some kind of way? Yeah? Okay, great. So I'm going to show you how to do that today, because there's nothing more important right now than building your personal brand. And I gotta tell you, if you asked me that 5 years ago, I would have called bullshit. I would have said, no, your offer brand, because there's 3 types of brands: offer, personal, and company. And how many of you get confused? Like, should I build my offer, my product brand? Should I build my company brand? And why would anybody care about me? Well, guess what? I'm gonna show you why. And is Jim Quick here? I'm gonna quote Jim Quick, because I'm going to prove to you with his brain why that's true, okay? So anyway, let me talk about how I look at building brands. There's 4 layers to building a brand, and at the center of it is the brand itself. Again, what type of brands? Offer, personal, company, okay? Now, in order, my thesis, but not just my thesis, but the proof and the evidence that I love that Simon brought up, and I'm going to show you how his genius models fit into this. I actually like high-fived him. I was like, thank you for setting me up so well. You're awesome. And we didn't even know what we were talking about. So that's what we call synergy and the right people around you, yes? Okay? So unicorns. Who are unicorns? I'm going to get into that in a moment. But how many of you are a unicorn? Like, nobody is like you, right? Nobody is like you. But the problem is there are people doing what you do. And so you're like, how am I different? But I'm better than you. Just people don't know me. I'm America's, the globe's best secret, right? And the truth is that the problem is that you're not the only unicorn in your brand. I'm going to show you what that means in a minute. Then there are the messengers. Gio talked about this, right? He wants all of us to be messengers. And if you set up yourself as a successful unicorn, the messengers will just follow. Because what messengers are looking for are people to believe in, right? People who are aligned with their values, beliefs, and hopes and dreams, yeah? So messengers. And then finally, the citizens. And the problem is, and when I say citizens, it's everybody else in the world. And a lot of you, from a marketing perspective, are trying to reach the citizens when actually who you need to be working on are the unicorns and the messengers. Okay? And I'm going to show you how that works in a minute. All right, so one of the things I think is really important to me, one of my highest values, well, my highest value is autonomy. But one of my highest values is that when I teach, I want you to know the whole picture. Is that fair? Yes? You guys like that? Because some people are like, just teach this part so they get it. And I believe you guys are smart enough to get it if you saw the whole picture. Because in my mind, context is way more important than content. We are content. There's like violence on the internet, right? It's like they're just content like assaulting us. And if you got better at context, using your genius, your expertise, and your experience, you could build a brand that people will follow, that messengers will talk about, that then citizens will get in the mainstream in some kind of way. And every great brand, you heard Jillian. Yes, I worked with Oprah. I've hung out with her. I worked for 2 years with Steve Harvey. When I was 9 months pregnant, I was going from, well, not 9, 7 months pregnant, going from Hawaii to Atlanta every 2 weeks to build his brand. And just to let you know, they're not any different than any of us. They got all the same hang-ups, all the same self-worth issues. Is that exciting? Like, I know you've probably heard this, but take it from somebody who's been in the room with these humans. They are, and what they are geniuses like us. They were just willing to accept the chaos that Simon talked about, right? That's the part we don't want to face. But you're not an entrepreneur unless you're willing to play with chaos, right? So a master brand is what I call a brand. 3, right? What is it? Personal offer company, right? It's comprised by the internal and external vision and strategy. Brand is everything. Brand is internal. You've heard about team culture, right? That's brand. How many of you were sitting with us yesterday in the mastermind maybe talking about team, and then we're sitting in the identity table, and that's really it. That's why TIME, team, identity, messaging, experiences. Those are the 4 things where you want to spend your time. Brad Martineau and I were sitting down, and one of the things that the biggest thing I'm most proud of is not just like all the brands that I've been able to help build and all the unicorns and messengers I've been able to support, but what I'm really proud of is that I only work on things I care about now. That's where I spend my time. Team, identity, messaging, experiences, right? Of all 4 of them, which one do you think is the hardest? Anyone know? Team. But nobody talks about that in terms of brand. They talk about it in culture and values and all that stuff, but guys, it is the key to your freedom. Yeah? Okay? And that also means that you're not the only unicorn in the room in your brand. We're looking for the other unicorns that actually, for some wild effing reason, want to come with us and play. Every great entrepreneur that we've ever admired, Steve Jobs, Sarah Blakely, name whoever, fill in the blank, not only did they not do it alone, a lot of people heard how intense Steve Jobs was, right? He was a dick to work for, right? A total dick. Why would anybody want to follow him? Because his vision was so clear and he was so unapologetic about it that the other unicorns came and said, "Giddy up, mofo, let's go." And they created the biggest brand in the world. Y'all see that? Okay. Now, also with Steve Jobs, Oprah Winfrey, whoever you admire, they all started in the same place all of us did, across from a diner, talking someone's head off, usually a friend who's like, "When the hell are you going to do it?" Okay? Or in a garage. We're all the same. It's just the question is, how big do you want it? And you get to control that too. Oprah Winfrey's no better than Jen Kem. That's how I feel about it. And I would tell that to her face because I respect her. I don't want what she has. I want what I want. And part of it is, do you know what you want? Some of you actually get to like building the empire like I did, which I'm going to tell you about in a minute. And I was like, I don't like this place. This place sucks. I know how to scale a business, but I'm bored and angry all the time. And some of you just want to make an impact and make great money at the same time. See, and the good news is, if I had a cape on right now, you can't see it, it's invisible, like Wonder Woman's plane, it would say that my superpower is that, 1, I can smell the money, and 2, I can see the future. So you want to be my best friend. Okay, so anyway. So what I mean by internal and external, I have 2 models. Simon, I hope you're proud of me. I have 2 models that support my premise about how great brands build master brands. And the first is the internal side, that unicorn team model. I'm writing a book on it, and guess what? You know how long it took for me, even though I have a platform? It took me 2 years to get a book deal. So when Chandler was up here, I was salivating. I was like, why didn't I just do what he's saying to do? Anyway, talk to me about publishing. It's going to be a whole nother story. But my point is that they wanted me to write the book on the right first. The messaging book, the external brand, the sexy, thing. And I was like, where brands break is on the left side. The things that you want are on the left side. And a lot of people don't invest in that, or they do and then they give up because they're like, people are hard. I'm like, no shit, you're hard, right? You're hard to deal with. You think other people are going to be easy, right? You got to get over that, Because that's not how life works, right? Do you have a spouse, a partner, a kid? You might know what I'm talking about. Okay, so on the unicorn team side, which is the internal side of the brand, there are 3 main roles that you need. Okay, I'm going to talk about them. I'm going to go further in a moment. And then on the external side, you need to have a unique message. Because if you have a unique message, guess what happens? Internally, your people get it. Externally, people get it. They give you money, so then you can build a brand, right? And if you get the external one right, well, actually, if you get the internal one right, you get to free up your time to build your personal brand. I was in the speaker room with Sam. Was she not amazing this morning with the breathing? And we're always like, swapping notes. And I was like, one of the things that I'd like you to focus on is your team, your unicorn team needs to focus on the business, and you need to focus on the brand. Because you're a visionizer. Write that word down, visionizer. I have another thing I want to tell you. I hate the word visionary, so I'm going to tell you why in a moment. Okay? So, what is the unicorn team model? I'm going to go into that first. I'm going to do internal, then I'm going to do external. Okay? I'm going to show you both sides. Because I feel like if you understand both sides, you'll choose the right time to invest in it. So, in the unicorn team model, 3 roles, as I said, is the visionizer, the founder and creator. That's the personal brand of the company. When you think of Apple, do you think of Tim Cook? Do you know who he is? He's the current CEO of Apple. Steve Jobs is dead, but forever, even our grandchildren's grandchildren are going to know about Steve Jobs. You see what I'm saying? And I'm not saying, again, I want to be clear, that you don't need to build an Apple. You need to build your size Apple, right? And so Tim Cook, by the way, he messed up a lot of things. I would like to have a conversation with him. He should hire me. But now the brand has more money than God, so you can't really ruin it. You know what I mean? So that's how protected they are by their brand now. You know what I'm saying? They're like richer than God. Okay, so there's the personal brand. That's you. You are a visionizer. That's who you are. Regardless if you're a freelancer, if you have a part-time business, if you got a side hustle that you want to turn into a main hustle, whatever, you are a visionizer, okay? There are 2 roles that support that. And when I say roles, notice I didn't say people. I said roles, okay? That is the strategizer and the mobilizer. Strategizer, generally speaking, that department is about sales and marketing. Sam, I am, as Chandler said yesterday, right? They're in charge of making sure that we enroll people in a way that they want to give us money for something that will help them in their lives, right? The mobilizer is in charge of operations and finance. Generally speaking, there are a lot of nuances here, but I wanted to show you a bigger model so you'd understand, because every one of your teams is different too. And when I say team, guys, that could be your part-time high schooler who is shooting you for social media and a VA in the Philippines. You still have a team. The problem is you think just because you have contractors or people who are part-time, they're not really part of your team. They are part of your team, right? And you have to treat them the same as you would if they were full-timers, if you choose full-timers. You don't have to have full-timers in your business either. Depends on the size Apple you want to build, right? So everybody getting that? So basically, the mobilizer is in charge of the company brand, which means really the business. Is the business operating at a profit? Is it making impact? You know, all the boring metrics. Impact's not boring, but it's still like, ooh, spreadsheets, scorecards. They're in charge of that stuff, right? Offer brand is the product, the service, the thing. Like, okay, so if I said Apple's the company, Steve Jobs is the visionizer, right? Apple is the mobilizer. What do you name something that is a strategizer department thing in Apple? Come on, y'all. iPad, iPhone, MacBook Pro, MacBook Air. right? Apple TV. These are all offer brands, and they are managed over here. The product lines are managed under the Strategizer department, and all the rest is managed under the operations, the Mobilizer department. Notice I said nothing about the Visionizer managing anything, because you're not qualified to do that. You're very unorganized people, okay? I know this because I am you, right? And I came from corporate. My story is I was in corporate. I left a really cushy job in 2006. I was making $400,000 a year. I had a parking spot that said Jen motherfucking Kem on it. It didn't have the middle part, but that's how I felt when I parked my car. That's like what I imagined it said. And I had a corner office with a disco ball in it, okay? And I ran the strategy and marketing division of one of the Fortune 10 companies in the world. And I actually launched what is now Netflix to the world in 2006, okay? That was my last job. So, by the way, I don't even pay myself $400,000 today. I make sure that I grow that money, which is another thing I learned how to do, because I knew how to make it, but I didn't know how to grow it or keep it. Anybody resonate? That's a Visionizer fucking crutch right there, right? So what I had to, and I was like, I'm so organized. I was PMP certified, y'all. Me, PMP. Do you know what that is? Project Management Certified? That is wild. If you knew to me today, you'd be like, dude, you were lying over there. And I was like, no, I thought I was organized, but I hated it because that's not my gift and skill and genius, right? So when I left, because I was passed over for a promotion to CMO that I was promised because they put me on that project called Pre-Netflix, and I ignored my 2 daughters for like basically 2 years and pawned them off to my mom and babysitter so I could work my butt off to make that happen, they gave the job to a dude who played golf with my boss every weekend while I was working my ass off every weekend. And I thought, wow, that's weak. And hard work is not only the thing you need, right? And it's kind of funny because my old boss, he's from Toronto. And whenever I come, I kind of text him because we're still friends, and he's so jealous of my life. I'm like, bro, I made you look good. You should have held on to me, man, right? So anyway, so what happens when you are committed to building a unicorn team first? So remember, team, identity, messaging, experiences, team first. By the way, guess what? You're part of the team. They're not separate from you. You're on the team. That's another problem, is our ego as founders, as creators, and definitely people are holding the money bags, right? Doesn't it irritate you when someone on your team makes a mistake and you spent the money to do it? You're like, why do I need you? I'll just do it myself. Anybody relate? Yes? Say I if you relate. Yes? Bro, I get it. That still happens to me, right? But I have this model that helps me not kill people. That's the thing. And I think that that's what, it's like better than therapy, even though I do that too, okay? So point is that when you embody the Visionizer that you are, you get to have all of these things. But I'm not gonna read them to you, you can read. But I wanna talk about Jim Quick's AAA. Jim's awesome, right? He's all about the brain. Well, one time, this was like 5 years ago, and I do this article for Forbes every year about the brand predictions for the next year for small business. And he got up on stage and he said something, I was dying. I was like, yes, 5 years from now when AI becomes branded. Notice what I just said. How many of you are Gen Xers or Boomers? Don't lie, it's okay. You still look good because we got technology now. Okay? I'm Filipino, so Asian don't raisin. I got a 26-year-old kid. So that's my little secret is my mother and my grandmother. But anyway, Jim came up here and he was like, if you don't build your brain, and in my mind that's build your brand. That's how I'm interpreting it, right? If you don't get the courage to get in front of people, you're going up against 3 enemies out there. The 3 A's. Automation, artificial intelligence, and Asians. He's not wrong. I was like, you are not wrong, Jim Quick. And what we mean by Asians, he and I can say that because we're Asian, right? Any of you would be like, oh my God, I can't say that out loud, right? It's okay. What we really mean by that is outsourcing, right? Because a lot of us outsource to the Philippines and India or other countries, right? So in a commoditized world where now AI has become branded, y'all, you understand? Like, it's like this thing. Dude, it's been a thing. This thing's been around since the 70s. But it's been branded as the shit right now. So everybody's like, oh my God, I gotta chase AI. I'm like, no, you gotta chase yourself. Because it will commoditize your industry if you don't stand out and tell what's going to come back, which is so exciting because it's like a renaissance, is that thought leadership, real craft, real like people who know things is gonna be of higher value. And also, we have a responsibility to make sure that AI, automation, and agents are directed well. Does that make sense? So that requires us to not be the ego unicorns, but be unicorns that want to make a difference, okay? Taki's going to be after me, so he's going to talk about how to create 5 or 4 day weekends, so I don't need to go into that. We were like back there, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad I don't have to go into that because I was going to talk about that, but now I don't have to because Taki's going to teach you all that. So next is the myth of needing a visionary and an integrator. This is the biggest lie on the internet streets, well, besides the fact that you can grow organically and make all this money. Okay, what does that mean? Visionary is given as a random, superficial word, and the addition of ARY to a word means it's basically static. So vision static. Does that make sense? I have a vision, but I'm just standing here. So I'm talking about it, but am I doing anything about it? That's why I prefer us to be called Visionizers. And I'm on a mission. I want this to be the new word for people who are serious about making a difference. Will you guys come with me? Are you a Visionizer or a visionary? Thank you. I'm going to test you later, like 5 years when I see you from now. I'm going to look the same, but I don't know about everybody else. Okay, so anyway, bottom line is your brand and your business are verbs. They're not nouns, right? They are in action. And a lot of you are holding back from telling stuff because you're worried that someone's ahead of you or whatever. And I think what Simon did so well up here is he told you there's a way to defend what you know. And you should be focusing more on that. Instead of like, I'm trying to keep up with the social media Joneses. You will never find me on TikTok dancing like a monkey. It's just not my ministry. But if you like that, word, okay? But I promise you, if that's not your ministry, you should be focusing your time on time. Team energy, see, now I can't even say it. Team identity, messaging, and experiences, okay? A unicorn team is about ownership, not accountability. On my team, everybody owns their role and the department that they're in. Now, are we perfect? No. In fact, I was telling Sam in the back, I actually reward my people for making mistakes twice. If they make more than 2, dead. Just kidding, kind of, okay? But it's cool because they already have a safe place to land, right? And I can talk to me offline about that because people are like, how the hell are you doing that and not losing your mind? I'm like, because I'm way more committed to my autonomy and to my impact than I am to dealing with small shit. Because we have only a few breaths left in us. We don't even know. Could be today. I'm not trying to be morbid, but it's true. So while this meat sack is holding the soul that you so dearly want people to see, we're decaying, y'all. So we got to spend our time on the right things. Get out of your own way. But I'm going to show you how to get out of your way. You ready for that? That's the external part. Y'all excited about that? Okay. Are you excited about this? Does it change the way that you see that? Because it's like, oh, I just need to hire all these integrators. What the hell is an integrator anyway? So it's like, I delegate everything. That's another lie on the internet. You should delegate if you're a really good leader. What if they don't even know what you want? And then they're like, but that's why I hired them, because they're the expert in that. But they still don't know your vision because you haven't shared it with them. You're like, you should know by osmosis because I worked my ass off to pay you, so now do it. That's not how it works, friends. Okay, so online, great marketing will tell you, and you can believe me or not because I'm a marketer, but I promise I'm General Leia, not Darth Vader, okay? Stage 1 and stage 4 of your business growing are very much romanticized. Meaning, stage 1 is your forming stage. That's the startup phase. Everybody talks about starting up. What do you got to do to start up, right? Then they talk about scaling, which is stage 4, when you're performing. So therefore, you have resources. But in between, nobody wants to talk about that sexy, ugly stuff. Stage 2 and 4, you know, that storming phase? You know, what Simon talked about, chaos? And that norming stage when you start to feel some peace of mind that even though you're naturally anxious as a unicorn, that you feel like, oh my God, we're finally in a predictable state where I can feel peaceful. Nobody talks about that. That's why I fought for my book. Because I'm like, if we don't teach this, everybody's gonna think that you need to go from stage 1 to 4 and you're always gonna feel like you're failing. Has anybody ever felt like that? I am either starting up or I'm scaling. Dude. That's hard to live with. So I was like, why do people think like this? Oh, because of marketers. Sorry. That's what we do. We speak to outliers so that people will pay attention. And that, by the way, is not necessarily out of integrity. It's up to you as a Visionizer to go deeper, to learn more, to be around other unicorns and Visionizers who will say, it's cute what that is, and you did a good job of that, but now here's the next level. Because when you hit the next level, who do you meet? The next devil. Right? And devil, stage 2 and stage 3, that's where Satan lives, y'all. If you believe in that stuff, okay? There's the boogeyman. The boogeyman lives in stage 2 and stage 3. And many of you are in stage 1, and you think the boogeyman is there. Friends, that ain't a boogeyman. Wait till you actually start making impact. You're going to hit this wall that everybody's been talking about, that none of us are immune to. I told you, Oprah, Steve, you know, Steve Harvey and Steve Jobs. Us, the speakers, we all have gone through this, and we're still going through it. We're going to still make mistakes. Just because I have a framework doesn't mean I'm perfect either. I mean, 99%, but that's it, guys. Okay? I try to be funny because I'm Filipino. I want to perform. Okay, so the next thing is, now that we're moving the internal, I'm moving away from internal, and I'm going to talk about external. And I have to go fast, unfortunately, because I don't want to run out of time. So the external is what we call the unique message model. Simon, are you proud of me? It's a model. Okay, here's the cool things. There are only 6 truths that you need to be like no one else. Isn't that exciting? Is that exciting? There are only 6. You know, it's like, how do I be different? How do I be different in social media? How do I be different in consulting? How do I be different in a sales call? My good news for you is there's only 6 things you need, and if you focus on them, you will be able to come up to the stage and talk exactly how you would talk. And you would enroll people into your vision, including people who'd be like, you know what? I don't think I even want to be a Visionizer anymore. I'm a really good strategizer, and I'd like to be on your team. That's exciting, right? That's happened to me. And that's why I have a unicorn team now. Okay, so let's talk about them. So truth number 1 is your values. Everybody talks about values. I look at values in a way deeper way, a very deep psychological way. The company values come from the founder's values, period. Even if you're dead, okay? Anybody who tells you differently, they're selling you some generic shit, okay? Because values are about the 3 things. Why us Visionizer are so crazy to start something to be change makers is because there are 3 things motivating us, and mainly we only talk about one of them, which is vision, which is our future selves. It's how we see ourselves in the future. But what about the voids, which is our present self, and the violations, which were our past selves, those are fuel. Do you agree? They have made you want to fix things. And yet we ignore those and we keep it separate. It's like, yeah, go work on that in therapy and coaching. I'm like, no, actually, can we look at it? And if we really looked at it and said, wow, it sucks, but it's cool that this is me, right? How positive your voids and violations are. And voids also mean, what are external voids? You're here to fix something that's not working in the market right now. That's a void. And you want to be the one to solve it. So anyway, this is a whole workshop right here, but helpful? Okay, great. Second truth is your brand archetype influence mix. This is your brand voice and perceived myths and beliefs that you're creating with your audience. Everybody came to Hero last night? Awesome, right? It showcased 4 different archetypal stories. And you have one. And the cool thing is I have an assessment that I'm going to give you. And if you've already taken it because you've seen me speak, I hope you're seeing it through a different, deeper lens with this. Because you've seen Hero, because you understand Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey. And as Simon said, your story only matters, which is these are the 12 archetypes. You're one of 3. You have a dominant, an intrinsic, and an intuitive archetype. I am a ruler, explorer, lover. And without saying anything, most people go, oh, I don't even know what that is, but that sounds like you. Right? And I worked really hard to just be authentically me. If you would have met me 15 years ago, I would have been like, here's my PowerPoint, here are my bullet points. I would have had my hair in a tight bun and not try to look sexy up here because I would have wanted to be taken seriously. Isn't that sad? I was like, nah, they need to see all this flavor, okay? And all this genius. Like, you can be you and teach something or give something very potent into the world. So anyway, you're going to find that out because I'm going to give you the link to that, okay? Everybody excited about that? All right, truth number 3 is your stories, approachability and authority stories. Authority stories are your expertise. Includes not just your resume or your education, but case studies, testimonials of people who've worked or used your products and are like, dang, that really changed my life. Are you documenting that? And because you're not organized, you need somebody to document it. Okay? I have a story bank, which I keep, and there's actually thousands of stories in there now, which is so easy then now for my content and my copywriting team to play with. Approachability stories are your experience. Those are mainly your life experience stories. Like, maybe you're married, maybe you're divorced, maybe you have kids, maybe you don't. Maybe you grew up in a small town, maybe you grew up in a big city, and I gave you guys an approachability story when I said, how many of you have ever been screwed over by a boss or perceived to have been screwed over by a boss? That's an approachability story that I got really good at telling, right? I'm out of time. So I'm going to cruise through this. Feel free to come talk to me. But I will tell you this. I've lost it all. 2008, remember the Great Recession? Lost everything. I was in retail and real estate after I left the corporate world, made $10 million in my business, and then lost it all within 9 months. Got divorced, became functionally homeless, all the things. And the thing that I bet on was that I had genius. And I used this unique message model to recreate my identity and remember who I was. Isn't that exciting? Because identity changes and shifts. And that's okay too. That's what branding really is. Branding is not some superficial who you are or manufactured. It is actually who you are in this moment. All right. Truth number 4 is what Simon talked about. I call them unique solution expertises, meaning they are your unique solution. So do you have a master framework like I do right now that I can talk to you? Notice how I'm very confident talking about my stuff? It's because I have a picture I can follow. So then I don't look so stupid when I'm teaching you. I don't get lost, and therefore you don't get lost. That's the responsibility. I also have a diagnostic framework. What's that? That's something that lets prospects know that they're for you using your master framework. Again, come talk to me. I can tell you how that works. Truth 5 is your irresistible offer. Here's the definition of an offer. The outcomes and invitation to enroll in what your unique message is promising. the outcomes and invitation to enroll in what your unique message promises. Those can be free, low fee, or high fee. Examples, lead magnet, low fee, published book like Chandler talked about yesterday. High fee, whatever you're selling. Yeah? Anytime I say to you, hey, will you take my diagnostic? That is, guess what? An offer. I am inviting you to play. I am inviting you to get to know me. I'm inviting you to decide, hey, is this somewhere I would want to spend my time, energy, and money? And many of you, that's the experiences part of time. Are you creating experiences with your offer such that they want to come back for more? Probably not. Enough, right? And finally, the rich niche. The niche is not a who, it's a what. The niche is the actual problem, the specific problem that your unique solution solves for people. Because once you know the actual problem and you can articulate it, you can go where the watering holes that those unicorns are. Does that make sense? Everybody's trying to describe the unicorn, like perfect prospect. I'm like, you don't know nothing about them? But if you know what they're suffering from, then you can go, hey, on Reddit, there's this group. Hey, this mastermind group, like Archangel's a great place to hang out with people like that. Hey, if I'm want to work with working moms, I'm going to go look if there are forums on Facebook. I use those last. I figure out what the problem is first. That's a niche, at least the way I define it. Anyway, so in closing, and I apologize, I went a little bit over, but I hope this has been helpful to understand internal, external, yeah? Okay, great. So bottom line is, what are we going to focus on? Team, identity, messaging, experiences, right? There's an internal part of brand, there's an external part of brand.